live from Hofstra University. Debate 2010, the governor's race.
If you are elected governor, you're going to be walking into a fiscal mess. We've heard from a lot of New Yorkers who are just plain fed up.
They really need to balance the budget and create more jobs.
They need to straighten out Albany, cut back their expenses.
I feel that they're just talking loud and saying nothing, and I want to see something.
Okay, New York is facing an $8.2 billion deficit in the next fiscal year, and according to census data, there's well over $13,000 of state debt for every man, woman, and child in New York. Name 3 or 4 specific state programs that you would cut and how you would minimize the impact of those cuts on ordinary people. All right, candidates, our next question comes from Joy Brown of Newsday.
Do you favor a do you favor a state-mandated cap on local property taxes? And if so, what specifically would you do to help local governments and school districts find savings to cover their lost revenues?
All right, News 12's Brian Connie Bayer has the next question from a member of our live audience here at Hofstra University. Brian.
All right, Doug, thank you. The environment is a big issue for an awful lot of New Yorkers these days. Joining me right now is Adrienne Esposito. She's with the Citizens Campaign for the Environment, a group that claims 80,000 members statewide. Adrienne, what would your question be for all 7 of these candidates?
Well, good evening, candidates. As I'm sure you're aware, New York is facing some critical environmental challenges, from the hydrofracking for natural gas, degradation of our oceans, estuaries, and drinking water, also very much needed upgrades to sewer treatment infrastructure, as well as massive cuts to environmental enforcement and environmental monitoring staff, most notably in the DEC. My question is, what would your administration do to make sure that the economic success of New York is consistent and complementary to clean water, clean air, clean beaches, and open parks? Thank you.
All right, candidates, our next issue. New York State lost 367,000 jobs during the recession. The unemployment rate doubled to nearly 9%. Small business owners were socked especially hard, caught by rising taxes and other costs. One of them is Zachary Thompson. He owns a security company in Yonkers, and he has this question.
I've been trying to expand my business for a year and a half now, and it seemed hard for me to get a business loan. So if he was elected governor, how can you help a small business owner like me?
Man up.
Let's go back to News 12's Brian Connie Bayer and our audience here at Hofstra University with another question.
All right, Doug, thank you. New York spends on average $17,000 per pupil per year on education. That's 65% higher than the national average. Yet, test scores are going down in New York City, and across the state, school districts are laying off teachers and other workers. So education in our schools are a big issue for a lot of people. One of them is joining me right now, Hallie Carino. She is a senior at West Islip High School here on Long Island and part of a group called Renew New York. Hallie, what's your question for the candidates?
Thank you. Good evening, candidates. In the work that my partner Phil Siganofi and I did as summer interns for the Renew New York program at Hofstra University, our research indicated that not all public schools are created equal. Some have better resources and better teachers than others. This is due in large part to the amount of funding that the school receives. How do you propose to fund public schools as to ensure a more equitable allocation of resources to public schools across the state?
Our next issue, candidates, on to the MTA. Higher fares, less service. Whether they take the bus, the subway, or trains, commuters are very angry, and businesses have been hit with that new MTA payroll tax. New Yorkers such as Kendra from Parkchester want the next governor to get tough on the agency.
I just want to know what the next governor is going to do to possibly audit the MTA's books and open up those books and see why they're always in such a deficit. What about the salaries of some of these executives? How come they're not cutting their salaries to give us, better service?
Joy Brown has our next question.
New York has been called the nation's most dysfunctional state government and also one of the most corrupt. What specifically would you do to restore public confidence and trust in state government? And for this one,
actually, candidates, we're very close to our closing statements, but we're going to squeeze in one more question. We need almost literally a yes or no to this. The topic of gay marriage, do you support it? Yes or no?